of security and whoever structures you can come up with, to look at the time of Mr. Robert McBride Turner as the head of IPID, how they were interacting with Paul O'Sullivan. Bank movements, money movements, the meeting venues, the cell phone locations where they meet, how they engage in terms of investigation. I'm saying this to the members because it is that which Mr. Nkabinde told me, who is now a chief of staff at the office of the minister, that operations of IPID were planned, coordinated, and executed at Paul O'Sullivan's house. That was his words to me. So I'm going to request that such be investigated in details, because the phone will put McBride in this place, will put Paul O'Sullivan in this place, will put Nkabinde in this place, and others. And when that investigation is conducted, nobody can deny it, because we'll know exactly that all of them have been operating guided by Paul O'Sullivan. And that is on one side. And I'm interested to know, honorable members, as to who is the author of the report that was produced when the city of Johannesburg, as well as the National Commissioner, wrote to the State Security asking them about the legality or otherwise of the gadget that were bought by the city of Johannesburg at the time when Jairus Bia was in charge of the security in that place. And who is the company that supplied that gadget? And how was that gadget sourced from the country in Europe where it comes from, in the UK? And I want to also recommend an investigation against the purchase of the similar gadget that was bought by DPCI back in 2010, where Jairus Bia was working at DPCI at the time, whether such was bought legally, who are the supplier, and who's the manufacturer of the things. And I'll want the Parliament to check every financial records of Mr. Paul O'Sullivan and all the individuals I've mentioned, and so that we're able to trace and draw a conclusion whether is Paul O'Sullivan a clean man or is an agent. So I think based on that investigation, we're able to conclude whether is he indeed a clean man or he is what is being said in public, an agent. If he's a clean man, why he does what he does? If he's an agent, who is he working for? But it is time that this country must not sit back and be run by Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. And if government fails to act on it, the men and women in this country, they're going to take it upon themselves to do something drastic on it. And it might not be what this government wants to do, because he has gone too deep in showing that he's got control all over. And maybe lastly, I might ask the members to say, if you ever heard of any report that is deemed to be classified, that's supposed to expose the wrong that has happened, such reports be interrogated. And one of them, IPID has a responsibility to investigate criminal things. When you hear the Minister of Police says, I've got a report from IPID that is classified, then you need to ask yourself a question. You are not an intelligence structure. What do you do with a classified report that you don't want to release? As IPID, what is that report doing in the minister first place? Because IPID deals with the criminal case docket. Whatever you investigate must get into the case docket, and that docket must go to court. Why will it go to the minister and the minister goes out public and say, I've classified this report, I won't make it public? So these are the things that might need to be checked, because it is when the system of government fails. And you have worked hard to create a legislation to try and protect yourselves, the citizen of the Republic. But if it's manipulated in that fashion, that the minister can just decide, I'm classifying this, I'm not releasing it in public, perhaps you need to ask, do your minister that classifies a document, do you have a security clearance yourself? So how do you classify something if you yourself are not vetted? You don't have a security clearance. So what gives you basis to classify something? So those are the typical examples that I'm talking about that might need to be checked. The problem in the law enforcement is so serious in this country that's why I'm saying if these things are going to be centralized in a national commission, then it might not be fixed. There's too many problems that exist. And if we start looking at how can we decentralize some of the things, we lessen the risk against this country. And it's a serious risk, honorable members. So that's why I'm going to end on that response.
General, you said that the members of the crime intelligence will be forced to defend themselves and that the best way to do so is to tell the truth, and that when the truth comes out, this country will burn. You made that statement yesterday. Can you clarify exactly what truth you are referring to and why you believe it would have such a devastating impact on our country? Honorable Chair and members, when the intelligence community operate, in order for them to be able to protect the citizens of this country, they must apply covert strategies that when you become aware of it, you might not approve of it. But they are necessary to protect the citizens. They are necessary to protect the country. So it is that which I was talking about, that when a safe house is rented for a particular individual for the sole purpose of protecting that person, and the safe house is then rented for this person to go and stay there. If it comes out in a public place, a typical example might come if for whatever reason, intelligence feels that the best way to hide this person against these criminals is in Camps Bay here next door. But the property that is found in Camps Bay, it costs 50,000 rands a month. And when it's presented before the citizen that we are renting a property for 50,000 rand a month, the first question is going to be asked is, why did you choose that one? Because it's so expensive. Any 3 quotations have to be used. Why did you go for that one alone? You should have advertised this thing open in a tender so that you comply with the act in terms of procurement. So all these questions end up being asked. Whereas you want to hide this person. So you can't have a luxury of advertising. You go there specific, said, I want to use your facility in a safe. We've identified it's safe enough to protect this person. We put this person here. They negotiate on the side the cost of that and they put a person in it. But if it comes in open, you're going to start asking whether was this in line with the law. If it's not in line with the law, then you've broken the law. If you want to do this, you must go this fashion, we do this. And that will defeat the purpose of protecting such information. I'm using that as a typical example because it applies. The cost associated with it is one thing. The next thing will be whose property is that you are renting. That's why I said yesterday, you're going to hear the names of the owners of properties. Of some of them might be in this hall where we're at. And then you're going to say, yeah, you rented Mkhwanazi's property because of corruption. Yes, it's in Mkhwanazi's property, but it might have been a proper property to use at the time. That's why we chose that one. Unfortunately, Mkhwanazi did not declare that when he submitted his financial statements at the end of the financial year on his disclosure. Because he's not supposed to, because this is a covert operation. He might disclose it on another platform, but not there through SAFs and the likes. So those are some of the examples that I'm using. There are many examples where you acquire something, you go and buy a vehicle directly from a garage, a Lamborghini. And then you're going to ask question, why do you buy a Lamborghini for a police operation? We don't understand as citizen, but because the intelligence wanted to infiltrate the Lamborghini crew. So you can't come with a test to mingle with the people that drive Lamborghinis. They must come with a Lamborghini as well to be in there. Until that operation is done, then we dispose of the Lamborghini somewhere else. So those are some of the examples that I can use, but there are many things that the intelligence community do to protect you and me that are done without necessarily following the same legislations that you pass here that you know of. They will know about it at Joint Standing Committee, not you. But it's within the law. Even with the Auditor General of South Africa, when it comes to audit, it's not every auditor that is allowed to walk in and audit there. It's certain categorized auditors that have gotten access to. So they audit, they produce reports, and those reports are classified. You'll never see the Auditor General of South Africa standing before South African and talk about that budget and the audit done there. They won't say it. They'll produce report and keep quiet because it's a nature
not only for South Africa, all over the world. That's how it works.
General, I mean, your press briefing was bold. I don't know if I could put it another way. Obviously, there must be some of your senior colleagues and superiors within the police that did not take kindly to this disclosure, obviously. Do you have any records such as emails or memorandums or reports or threats even that you've received after this statement of yours on not only on your life, but that of your family? And, you know, what pushback have you received?
From my colleagues?
Yes.
I have not received any pushback from my colleagues directly. I like to believe indirectly, yes, I did, except Jairus Bia, who went on a national TV and started saying that I want to be a minister, that I shouldn't challenge a minister. I think that's a mistake they made by making a minister to sign a letter thinking we won't challenge it. That was his mistake. He thought we cannot challenge that because it's signed by the minister, and he was wrong. So other than him, the rest of the colleagues that directly coming to me with things, no, I cannot say there was any pushback, but there's been a lot of pushback indirectly through the journalist. A lot of media stories written. Some of those journalists that wrote bad things, they're starting to change their tune now. And they start connecting the dots themselves, which is interesting for me because, well, if they made a mistake, they must acknowledge that and be objective about things. That is just one, but it remains known that there is a relationship between some of the police officers with some people out there that speaks a lot. Whether those people that speaks a lot, they are doing those things being informed by police officers or not, I cannot confirm for now. But I know that Mr. Paul O'Sullivan is one of the very close friend of Jairus Bia, business partner, doing whatever thing they do together. The intelligent man in the country that is allowed by the state security or the intelligence community of this country to do as he please in this country. Because he brings in listening devices, he does as he please. And nobody bothers challenging him. And that is unfortunate. So he's one of the people that came very vocal on TV shortly after I made that press briefing. So whether was that voluntarily to defend Bia or was it due to Jairus Bia asking him to do that? I don't know. But I know very well that there's been a pushback indirectly from some of my colleagues.
Thank you, General. General, then I'm going to go to the allegations that you've made against my colleague, Diane Kohler-Barnard. You've accused her of misusing intelligence information. Have you seen any official classified documentation that is labeled with the information on that you cite is in fact being classified?
The list of the properties that were bought by crime intelligence are part attached to a statement. If you're not in possession of the DA statement that she issued, she attached that report. That is on one, which is issued by her. The second one I read to you yesterday. The questions that she asked in your portfolio committee, which she shouldn't have. Perhaps you should have told her that, colleague, this question does not belong. But it went through your portfolio committee to the police, and the response came in the same fashion. So those are some of the one examples that I can bring up now. Anything else that Ms. Kohler-Barnard might be involved with, I think we'll leave it to in-camera discussions with the bodies that's supposed to. Because the nice thing is that people travel and they meet, and wherever they meet, there's cameras. And wherever they meet, there are people that are observing. And wherever they talk, there are footprints left on phones. Even if they delete messages, we retrieve them.
General, you actually have repeatedly alluded to the existence of an external influence that might have led the Minister Mkhwanazi to issue this instruction to disestablish the PKTT. But in his letter, he says, my observation, and I quote, my observation in this regard, as indicated above, is that further existence of this team is no longer actually required and is actually adding no value to the operations of the South African police. Now, I then find it difficult to reconcile your assertion that the minister must actually have been influenced, and yet he is actually saying that in his observation, personal observation, this team is no longer serving the purpose.
Honorable members, the minister, with the 6 months of being in the service, I think within the 6 months he had visited Western Cape province more than twice. And in that 6 months, he had visited Eastern Cape more than twice. I'm not sure about the other provinces, but he had never visited KZN in that whole 6 months on an official visit as a minister to engage with the management of KZN, to understand policing in KZN. To date, I don't even think the Minister of Police knows about all the units that exist in the police. This is a monster of a department, almost 200,000 personnel strong, stretched in the length and breadth of this country. You therefore cannot just make a decision about something that doesn't add value. You have not seen the performance plans, you have not seen the performance reports, you don't have anything to justify the action. He can come and say, it is Mary de Haas that informed me. It's a criminal, a police officer, ex-police officer in prison that told me. You can say it's messages that has disappeared, ghost messages that are no longer there to prove that inform me. They can use any justification that he wants to make the minister, but the reality is he knows consciously deep down in his heart that to date, I don't think the minister knows even 30% of what the police does, because he has never gone to that extent to understand. If you ask him, what does doc unit do? What unit exists? What type of specialization in doc unit? He won't tell you, because he's never taken time to understand the SAPS, and yet he makes such operational decisions. It's wrong.
Thank you, General. Can we actually look at your relationship with General Spear and the developments since the 1st of July, 2022? In response to one of the questions here asked in relation to General Spear, you actually said that General Spear is actually communicating with deputy ministers more than the National Commissioner. So would you actually elaborate on the nature of their communication?
Honorable Chair and members, I'm not so sure. SC, I think I did send that communication to the SC RNC, that communication WhatsApp. Do you have it? Remember the communication that I said that General Spear was sending to the Deputy Minister? The juniors are not here. Honorable members, I do have the communication here, WhatsApp messages that I would have loved for the members to see. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can project it on the screen somehow, but I might read it on record if you allow me. You don't have the copy. This is a screenshot of a WhatsApp message that General Spear forwarded to the member of the Office of the Inspector General of Intelligence. It's a message that indicates that he was communicating with the Deputy Minister. I do not know who the Deputy Minister is, because we've got 2 Deputy Ministers in the police. But what is interesting is to read what the message is saying that General Spear forwarded to the Deputy Minister, which is of an interest to me that I feel the members also might want to pay attention on. Well, I'm going to try and scroll up between these messages because they're not saved together, but it starts, the message is dated the 16th of October, 2024, as forwarded. It reads as follows.
Good afternoon, DM, comma, please note the following, column. 1, a source has indicated that CI has procured the new spyware equipment to the value of 13 million rands over the past weekend. 2, the equipment was sourced from China and it did not follow the normal process, e.g., minister needs to sign for anything above 10 million. Three. Furthermore, it was reported that this equipment was obtained on the instruction of former Minister Bheki. 4. Therefore, only a handful of individuals are privy to the details of the procurement and its usage. 5. They include the current DIVCOM, the Secret Service account head, the supply chain head, and the tech specialist. 6. It is believed that the usage of the said equipment will be for political purposes, targeting ANC leadership. Comments, column. 1. DM should take note of the above and exercise vigilance with any type of electronic communication, such as cell phones, emails, etc. 2. Comrade Matebula has also been briefed. And comrade in this is abbreviated as the DM is abbreviated, is written CDE. So we're trying to establish who is Comrade Matebula that the police officer has briefed. And he's telling the deputy minister this on WhatsApp. And it goes further, the next paragraph says, my suggestions that we should commit the National Commission to this. I want to repeat that. My suggestion that we should commit the National Commissioner to this. He needs to come out and say whether he knows about it or not. If not, he must investigate. If yes, why is the minister not informed? But let there be an official investigation with a report and within 7 days. What's the DM take on this approach? And the next message, this is worrisome, DM. Will they go ahead without the National Commissioner's signature either? And that's where the message ends. Honorable members, this is Jarasbia talking to a deputy minister. And the comrade Matebula, that we don't know who the comrade Matebula is. And he says, we must hold the National Commission accountable. So he placed himself in the same position of the deputy minister. He placed himself in the same position of the comrade Matebula, that they must hold the National Commission accountable to account about this. Jarasbia says he has sources within crime intelligence that tells him about this purchase. If is the responsible person in charge, as it is per structure, responsible for crime intelligence, he will have called the divisional commissioner to come and account to him and tell him about this. If not, he will have gone to the National Commission, say, National Commissioner, I hear about this purchase. Someone tells me there's a passage of this nature. Are you aware of it or not? If he felt that maybe something is amiss, he will have approached the oversight structures, Inspector General of Intelligence to report this if need be, and so is the Parliament. But no, he did not do that. He communicates this thing with the Deputy Minister in October last year. So, honorable members, this is a sign. Hence, I was saying earlier, when the honorable member asked me earlier, Malema, about the ownership of the letter, where I said, yes, the minister must own the letter, it's his letter, it's his signature, it's his letter, but there's a compiler that I believe is behind the scene. If we don't deal with the minister, we haven't fixed the problem. We need to find the root cause of the problem. Is this person who signs messages like this, Jaros Bia? So he has elevated himself to be in the level of the executive authority, in that the National Commission must be managed by him through the deputy ministers. It is evidence that I received because, I don't know, he was stupid or he was sourcing some collaboration. He forwarded these things to the Inspector General of Intelligence Office. It's an official from Inspector General that shared them with me. She can come here and say, yes, I received this thing from Sbia, because her response was very interesting. And she ended there on her response. There are bad things happening in our organization. There are few individuals involved. Who then takes this information and goes and share with Jaros Bia within crime intelligence? It can only be the members from crime intelligence that says that. And Jaro Kumalo must come and talk to yourselves about who this person from crime intelligence that is so bad. But I've no doubt when Mkhwanazi says Khan will feed you information, I've got no reason not to believe that Khan is a main source. I just don't have any reason to believe otherwise. Mkhwanazi said that when he sent me the WhatsApp. So that's why I'm not surprised that Sbia can do this. So that's why I still strongly believe that the compiler of the letter to disestablish this team is not done by the minister. Probably the same person you're talking about is the one behind the letter. But I'll end it there on my response. Honorable Chair members, I said yesterday, I'm not a lawmaker. But as we are enforcing the law and trying to satisfy the clients out there, we identify gaps in the legislation. Gaps that if we're to be invited to give our input, we might give input. The unfortunate part, the honorable members might not agree with the inputs we give, because our inputs in the main might be seen as a violation of human rights. We must appreciate the fact that majority of the leaders of our government have made 10 in those walls of prison in the past. Perhaps the recognition of human rights was to try and prevent the experience that some of the leaders had in the past. But in so doing, government opened or made the life of a criminal to be comfortable behind bars. It is the law of this country that allows a person to be treated as innocent until proven otherwise. The mere fact that the very same court will sign off a warrant of arrest of a person get arrested, but the same court then decides a person is got the right to be released on bail. It then defeats the purpose, because the same court will have signed a warrant of arrest. The same court then says the person must then be released on bail. The freedom that are enjoyed by presiding officers to decide on whether to keep a person in custody or not can, to some degree, contribute to more crime that you're experiencing in the country. So when the presiding officer decided to grant a murder suspect more than one bail, he goes out, he commits another murder, he comes back in. He goes out, he commits another murder, he comes back in. It becomes an unending crime scene that you're dealing with. Honorable Chair members, there are many examples. Police officers can give you a list of them. We had one in KZN where a person was found guilty for 12 years, but wholly suspended. He walked out of the prison doors and he called his friend to have a celebration. When they arrive at home to organize celebration, the victims of that crime visited them while they were having the celebration. They killed 8 people. And the South Africans made noise that so many people killed in KZN, but forgetting that this is the community that decided to take the law into their own hands because the system failed them. When a person is found guilty for 12 years for serious crime, but that all the sentences are suspended, it makes you ask yourself a question. If you've lost a person, you've been raped, you will not accept that. But unfortunately, the law protects the very same perpetrator. It is this House that passes the budget for those that committed crime to be fed in prison and live a luxury life at the expense of the taxpayer. So I'm going to leave it there in as far as the magistrate is concerned. We're safe to challenge the legislature to look at the powers given to the magistrates to decide on punishments. Perhaps we might want to employ a different method of deciding on matters of this nature. My take in the presence of Mr. Brown in SAPS meetings, my take in Mr. Brown having access to police matters, presentation of crime intelligence and so forth, it's a violation of the very same security that we want to protect as the police. The safety of the citizen that the Minister of Police is given a responsibility to ensure that is provided to the citizens is violated if we invite people that have got no authority to be part of the security architect of government to play part. So this is the highest infiltration you can think of, well, all the time we've been saying a political party because he had claimed to be a politician. The minister himself claimed to be his comrade. I believe when he say comrade, he means he's a member of his political party. Although surprised of late to learn that actually he's not a member of that political party. So I do not know the word comrade where it came from when the minister said he was a comrade, because it means the minister invited a person who's got no political standing to even be involved in policing matters. And that is a serious concern. It's part of the reason why I wanted to address it with the minister, because it's going to have serious consequences going forward. I was not informed about the president's take in terms of the unhappiness with regard to the PKTT, but I want to invite honorable members to go on YouTube and go and listen to the president when he recently, after my press briefing, when he visited Northern Cape, and he made a press briefing there. And he was asked by a journalist this question about his views on the PKTT. His words was, the PKT is doing a very good job. So if it comes from the head of state after my address that the PKT is doing the good job, then I wonder which president that the minister is talking about. Because the president recently said the PKT is doing a good job. So it makes me believe the president was not even aware about what the ministers decided back in December. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General.
I can confirm that the relationship between Mkhwanazi and the minister is unethical. Unethical in the sense that, for starters, the minister claimed when I appeared before the Portfolio Committee on the 5th of March 2025, he claimed that he did not know the fellow was talking about. It's been proven by the very same minister who says, no, that person is a comrade. I said, when you say comrade, I assume is a colleague in a political party. And this is a person who communicates with December, January, there's a January 8th gathering of that party in Cape Town. Mkhwanazi is facilitating the guest of the minister for Matlala to pay for them to come and attend this thing. And they are here, SBI is here, everyone is here. They're having meetings in some hotels that we already know of, where they are sitting and having meetings and the likes during that period in January, beginning of this year. When you see then that these criminal activities that are happening, you see Mkhwanazi in position of sensitive police material, and he speaks about the minister. He knows the diary, the calendar of the minister, that on this day is on his way to Sikisiki. So it's a person that is quite knowledgeable. And if this person is not in government as a colleague to the minister, and this person is not in the political party of which his own political party disowned him recently, that he's never a member there. The records we have in our position is the role that this Mkhwanazi was playing in the political campaign of the very same minister in the past. The communications that time when they were busy fighting for position back then, up to the conference of that political, but we have these records with us because it's an intelligence work that must do. The exchange of monies and the likes is available within intelligence. It's one of the things I was cautioning about that push these members to talk. They're going to release that information because it's there, it's available. And we don't want it to go out because it's a secret of the state that will cause fire. So Minister Mkhwanazi claiming that this man is a comrade, the political party concerned says he's not a comrade. That means the conclusion we must draw is that this is not a comrade, it's a criminal. That the minister is invited to be part of the police. Minister lied when he said he's a comrade.
Kwalenkosi baphinde bangithuma ke South Africa futhi. Bathi angibabongele kwinsizwa ezigadile. But baphinde bathi angibuza ukuthi how safe is the PKTT currently?
Honorable Chair members, on the PKTT, I'm not worrying much. I worry a lot about the team in Gauteng. The counterintelligence investigation operations that is taking place in Gauteng, I worry about their safety. Why do I say that? Because they were put in a safe house to operate from. The member of this house, together with others, they publish the photos of that house in the media. So therefore, their working place is compromised. The members that are operating the driving vehicles, those vehicles have been exposed in public. And I believe in some degree, maybe even the names of the members might be known. And their safety for me is a concern. The safety of the members that are working in Gauteng, they can't go home. If they go home, they go with the entire delegation of police officers protecting them. So their life is disrupted and their families, I don't think they are protected either. So it is that group in Gauteng. I spoke about 2 sergeants yesterday. There are other junior members that have joined in that are working with them now because the team has grown bigger. Together with the 10 that came from KZN. So it's quite a lot of them that are part of that operation. It's those members that I worry more than I worry about the PKTT because PKTT is in KZN. Yeah, well, at least they have me and the rest of men and women employed in KZN. They should be safe. I cannot guarantee the Gauteng team the same.
Who's in charge of the Gauteng one and what has he done?
The Gauteng one is Gerald Khumalo that is currently arrested. The one is told he must not enter premises of intelligence.
So currently nobody is in charge of them?
Well, I think the members are trying to operate from wherever they're operating from because they have been compromised wherever they want to work. Now, within crime intelligence, they cannot operate because what they are trying to deal with involves members within crime intelligence, and the boss of crime intelligence was told by court not to enter the premises, so that they become vulnerable, those members. So
if I may interject, the member you speak about who was taking out photos and stuff like that, are you able to tell us the name who's that member? Because I think that's the worst the member can do and put.
Yeah, well, the member of this parliament, Ms. Korabana, published the photos of the house. Some of the properties as members are working from in her media statement that she issued. I'll reference to it if I see it here, but it's in the public domain, it's known, and she published that. So here's the address, here's the house, and here's this, here's that. They got that information from members within intelligence that were against the work that the team is doing, and they took it out there to the media. So, and that compromised the operations. That's why I'm saying that I worry more about the Gauteng team than I will about the PKTT. I think PKTT in KZN, they operate in a place where they've got men and women that knows how to fight the enemy that are surrounding them. So they're quite okay in KZN. But the Gauteng counterintelligence team, I cannot say the same about them.
Okay, I've served under you, under SAPS when I was still working them. So I don't know this part, if I'll be wrong or right. Would what the member done be criminally? It classified as criminal to take out information of safe houses?
Yeah, no, definitely that's a criminal offense, and I do hope that the authorities that are responsible for it, they're going to assist us in making sure such is investigated. I call for an investigation by state security on these leakages of information to the media amongst of the things that I spoke about yesterday for specific journalists that keep writing about these things, including the members of this parliament and members within crime intelligence, as well as the Inspector General of Intelligence.
Do you have any proof or evidence of this DA member called Bernard who took out the photos of such?
Well, I don't know who took the photos, but I know that she participated in the circulation of the photos of these residents and addresses in a question that she had asked in Parliament, which I made a reference to when I presented yesterday.
General, let me leave that one because it's cut some is not. The first thing the president of this country, Babu Ramaphosa, does is to take intelligence into his office. Now you come and say, you said crime intelligence listens to our conversation, then will blackmail and capture members. And for me, that's the biggest threat to our democracy because it means MPs that are vocal about issues that are going to be blackmailed, and that won't happen. That won't help me towards a good governance. So my question is, what's your take on intelligence being under the office of the president? One, the office, or do you think that would allow the officers to be able to investigate him or those associates of the president? And wouldn't that give him power to manipulate those who go against him?
Honorable Chair, honorable members, I'm an official within the South African Police Service. I don't work within intelligence structure. Therefore, I cannot comment about the working arrangements of the state security at the office of the president. I know for a fact that when the state security was having their own minister back in the days, and they were not reporting to the office of the president back then, there were wrong things that were happening within intelligence, state security specific. There was even theft of money within the facility. So there were a lot of wrong that was happening there at state security, and that was happening, whereas that same entity was not reporting to the president. So whether they are within the presidency or they're outside the presidency, it doesn't seem to make any difference. If they are bad outside, they will be bad inside. I cannot see the difference between them because, yeah, I'm privy to some things that were happening there. Because, yeah, let me not go further on it because we'll end up saying things that I shouldn't be talking about here. But
no,
no, well, we'll leave it here. Some of us have got gray hair already because we've seen a lot. You've heard a lot. The privilege I have is that in many other parts of the security cluster, there are men and women that felt that it's important for them to share information with me. They've been sharing information with me from back then, and they're still sharing information with me now. And I know evidence. And I think the good thing they did was to make sure that they make use of people that are close to me to work in those environments so that I'm privy to such information. So that's why I'm saying some of things don't belong to this place. It belongs to the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. If they were to invite me one day, I'll share things with them that I don't think they'll be ready to hear themselves.
You've spoken publicly about rogue elements within the system. Given the sensitivity of you, I think yesterday you touched on threat and risk assessments as well, particularly those concerning public reps, whistleblowers, and police officers that are at risk. What dangers do these leaks of information out of the rogue elements in, for example, crime intelligence or SSA for that matter, pose to those individuals? And do we know who these information agents are? You mentioned some of the journalists. Are there people that you can share with us that keep on, say, for example, using social media to drive a specific agenda? Thank you, General.
Honorable Chair, members, maybe let me start with the very last one. I sit here as the Provincial Commission KwaZulu-Natal, and I have
I've received, I'm trying to find this information. I had received an inquiry from the journalist about what Lieutenant Jarasbia is doing, that the Jarasbia has taken legal action against me on what I pronounced on the 6th of July. Honorable Chair, this is Abraham Mashiko, a journalist from News 24, the one who's been handled by crime intelligence, amongst others. This Abraham Mashiko, who started with these stories, and the one who I was told about by his fellow colleague that I spoke about before. The gentleman sends me WhatsApp message, I cannot remember the date, I'm going to trace it, where he asked me about my comment about the legal step that Jarasbia has instituted against me. And my response to him was, Mashir, out of all these police officers that you have in South Africa and all the senior management of the police, you feel that's important to come and ask me. You are still pushing this narrative, and I hope you are not one of those captured. I use that word, I hope, knowing that he's one of them. I sent it to him. As of course, I don't understand why you bother coming to ask me these things. What is of a concern to you? I don't know any court papers to date. It's a couple of months down the line. I have not seen any court papers. I've not been served with anything. But he might have been briefed that there's going to be this court thing. So he must start asking me questions. So he's one of the enablers. And there are many journalists that we are part of the investigation. That's why I'm calling for a state security investigations against them, because I have a list of them. And there are a handful of them. It's just said that he writes for the same media house that has got very credible journalists who are doing a wonderful job within the very same News 24, who investigate cases of corruption, of murders of people, and they bring it to our attention, which force us to conduct criminal investigations. And yet we have these ones who then are used to publish the wrong information, the misinformation. So I felt that made me make that as an example and quote one journalist whom I've mentioned here. He will approach the court and do everything else, but I'm sitting before this parliament, I have evidence where he sent me this thing. And I'm still asking why you feel that you should ask me. And that communication between me and him, I screenshot that and I gave it to a friend of mine. I said, look at what this journalist is. And that message went all over the place. There was one, I think, journalist also in one of the radio station and TV who started criticizing me whether it's necessary for me to respond like that. And I don't know what was I supposed to respond. How was I supposed to respond? Because the same person who took my face and put it on a newspaper that I'm a corrupt person because of the defeating the end of justice case that happened in Richards Bay. It never apologized today about that. So that is typical, some of the people that are involved with this misinformation. For this to stop, I'm going to hope that the lawmakers yourselves in Parliament, you are going to put measures in place to make sure that a journalist is not going to hide behind being a journalist and reporting without fear or favor if he's reporting things that are wrong and they damage other people's images. That they are going to not only be held accountable by that media house by losing their jobs, but they must end up in prison. There must be heavy penalty of the mistakes done by journalists. It cannot be that anyone else is going to be held accountable, but when it comes to the media freedom, it's gospel, whatever they say. It's wrong. It cannot be like that. So they are good journalists, but they're very bad ones also in the mix.